The human princess led the final assault, and history took a turn. The Dominion had ruled the galaxy for centuries, spreading its control with precision and fear, and Earth, her home, had survived only by staying hidden, avoiding the notice of a power far greater than anything humanity had faced before. Yet Alara knew hiding would never change the future. She had seen the messages, the reports from scattered human colonies on distant planets. Their cries for help, their attempts to resist quietly, all ended in the same way, in loss, despair, and surrender. Alara was not like the princesses her history books described. She did not wear gowns adorned with jewels or sit in a palace waiting for diplomats to decide her fate. She moved among the engineers and pilots, learning about starships, tactical simulations, and ancient weapon designs. She listened when the advisors said humanity had no chance. She smiled politely but ignored them. She knew that chance did not belong to those who waited. It belonged to those who acted. And for the first time in centuries, she felt that action was not impossible. Her eyes fell on the moon below, pale and gray, drifting silently through the void. Beneath its surface lay something old, something forgotten, a prototype starship from humanity's earliest attempts at interstellar travel. Her grandfather had often spoken of it, calling it the seed of possibility, a vessel so advanced that, in theory, it could face the Dominion if it were completed and enhanced. Many had considered it a relic, but Alara had never seen it that way. To her, it was hope waiting for hands brave enough to take it. "Princess, you should rest," a voice said behind her. It was Commander Rin, a human veteran who had trained with her since childhood. His hair was streaked with silver, and his eyes held the calm certainty of someone who had survived far too many battles to be surprised by anything. "The engineers will need you at the launch bay soon." Alara turned and smiled, shaking her head. "Resting won't bring us a single step closer to freedom, Rin. Do you think the Dominion will pause while we nap?" He chuckled softly, a rare sound in these dark days. "You always know what to say to make a man feel guilty." He stepped closer and lowered his voice. "Be careful, though. The Dominion has eyes everywhere. They already know we are not as quiet as we pretend to be." "I know," she said. Her gaze drifted back to the stars. "But if we do nothing, Rin, nothing will ever change. Even if it costs everything, we have to try." The command crew had gathered in the launch bay, crowded around the holographic projection of the old starship. The vessel was unlike anything the Dominion had seen. Its design was unconventional, built with angles and curves that seemed almost organic. Its power core, if reactivated, could provide enough energy for a fleet of ships, but it had lain dormant for centuries. Dust covered every surface, and parts of it were rusted or missing entirely. The engineers were nervous, whispering doubts to one another, but Alara did not hesitate. She walked among them, touching the edges of the hull, imagining what it could become. "This ship is more than metal and circuits," she said firmly. "It is a statement. Humanity is not finished. We have ideas, creativity, and courage that the Dominion cannot predict, and we will prove it." The engineers looked at one another uncertainly. No one had dared to speak so boldly in decades. One young technician finally found his voice. "Princess, if we activate it, if we actually try, we might draw their attention. They could destroy the station." Alara's eyes softened. "I know the risk, but hiding is no longer an option. The more we wait, the more colonies fall. If we do not act now, our chance may disappear forever." They worked through the night, Alara never leaving their side. Every system they repaired, every missing circuit they replaced, felt like a small victory. She shared their excitement, their frustration, and even their fatigue. At one point, a small group of engineers crowded around a broken propulsion unit, arguing in technical jargon. Alara simply rolled up her sleeves and asked questions until she understood. Then, with careful hands, she helped adjust the components. When the unit powered up, a cheer erupted through the bay, and for a moment the weight of centuries of fear lifted. But the celebration was short-lived. Alarms blared, red lights flashing across the bay. Rin appeared at her side, his expression grim. "Sensors detect an incoming Dominion patrol fleet. They've traced our communications." Alara did not flinch. Her mind raced, calculating possibilities. They were outnumbered, underpowered, and outgunned. Yet she saw a path, not one of fighting head-on, but of cunning and strategy. "Prepare the ship for immediate departure," she ordered. "We will not run blindly into them. We will use this vessel, and we will use our minds. That is our advantage." The crew moved quickly, inspired by her decisiveness. The engineers had finished the repairs just enough to allow the ship to leave the station, though not at full capacity. Alara climbed into the cockpit, hands steady on the controls. She felt the hum of the ancient engines, as if the ship itself recognized her determination. As the station's gravity fell away, the stars stretched into lines, and the moon became a small gray dot in the distance. The Dominion fleet loomed ahead, massive ships with dark metallic surfaces and cold lights that reflected no warmth. Their formation was precise, intimidating, but predictable. Alara smiled faintly. They expected fear, but what they would not anticipate was human unpredictability. Using a series of evasive maneuvers and sudden bursts of speed, she guided the ship around asteroid belts, through narrow gaps, and along paths the Dominion had never considered. Every decision, every quick calculation showcased the strength of human ingenuity. One of the alien commanders in the Dominion fleet spoke through a translator, voice sharp and contemptuous. "Human princess, surrender is your only choice. Resistance is futile." Alara's response was simple, almost playful. "Futility is what you see when you ignore imagination." With a sudden flick, she activated a sequence that the engineers had designed just hours earlier. The ship emitted a field that bent light around it, making it nearly invisible. Dominion sensors could not track them accurately. The fleet fired blindly, their energy beams scattering harmlessly into the void. The humans and their allies inside the ship held their breath, each pulse of light and vibration reminding them of the danger, and the thrill of taking control of their destiny. Hours later, when the Dominion fleet finally retreated, exhausted and confused, the crew celebrated quietly. Alara stood at the edge of the observation deck once more, staring at the stars. She felt no triumph, only the weight of responsibility. This was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast and the Dominion was relentless. But she had seen something important tonight. Human courage was more than a legend. It was real, alive, and capable of changing the course of events. In the following days, as the ship traveled from one hidden human colony to another, Alara met people who had never seen a leader like her. Children who had grown up under fear smiled at her. Adults who had given up hope found reason to fight again. Every interaction reinforced her belief that humanity's strength lay not in weapons or fleets, but in spirit, creativity, and unity. She listened to every story, understood every need, and slowly a coalition began to form, a group not bound by race or species, but by shared determination to reclaim freedom. One evening, as the stars shimmered outside the viewport, Alara wrote in her private log. "They say humans are weak, small, and insignificant. They say we cannot change the galaxy. But I have seen what we can do when we dare to act. We are not just survivors. We are thinkers, dreamers, and fighters in our own way. And if we have courage enough to try, history itself will bend toward us." Sleep was rare and quiet rarer. Yet the humans and their allies on board the ancient ship felt something they had not felt in centuries: hope. Hope that they could challenge a power that had seemed untouchable. Hope that one person, guided by determination and intelligence, could inspire countless others to rise. And hope that the story of humanity would no longer be one of hiding in the shadows, but of stepping boldly into the light. As the ship accelerated toward the next colony, Alara gazed forward, her mind already planning the next moves, the next alliances, the next steps in a campaign that would test every skill, every instinct, and every ounce of human ingenuity. The galaxy was not free yet, but for the first time it felt like freedom was possible. And Princess Alara, with nothing but courage, intelligence, and a determination that refused to be shaken, was ready to lead humanity into history. The stars streaked past the ship's viewport as Princess Alara guided her small fleet through uncharted space. After the daring escape from the Dominion patrol, the humans aboard the ancient starship had begun to understand the full weight of their mission. Alara's eyes, bright with determination, scanned the holographic map projected before her. Each dot represented a human colony, isolated and vulnerable, waiting for someone to remind them that hope still existed. "Princess," Commander Rin said softly from behind her, "the next colony is on Lysara. It has been quiet for years. No one knows if anyone still lives there." Alara did not flinch. "We have to try. If even one settlement survives, we can build on it. One person can inspire thousands. One spark can start a fire." The ship descended toward Lysara cautiously. Unlike Earth, Lysara had been abandoned after repeated Dominion raids. Its cities were empty shells, towers half destroyed, and streets littered with debris. Yet the human engineers on board worked with excitement, scanning for energy sources, life signals, and anything that could be restored. As they landed, a figure appeared at the horizon. Ilara's heart leapt. It was a human, alive and waiting. Older than she had expected, the figure limped forward, holding a small device that emitted faint energy pulses. You came?" the man whispered, astonished. "I thought we were alone." Ilara stepped forward, extending her hand. "You are not alone anymore. I am Princess Ilara, and we are here to help." The man's eyes shone with hope, tears streaking his dirt-smudged face. "I am Jaren, one of the last on Lysara. You have to see what the Dominion has done." "We tried to fight, but our people, our families," he stopped, unable to continue. Ilara placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "I understand. That is why we are here. We will rebuild, we will resist, and you will help us." Jaren nodded, his spirit rekindled. Together, they explored the ruins, gathering what technology and resources remained. Ilara marveled at how humans could adapt. They repaired small energy generators, reprogrammed drones left behind, and even restored communication systems. Every success brought new energy to the crew, reinforcing the belief that even in a galaxy dominated by fear, humans could thrive when they used their intelligence and determination. Days turned into weeks. Word of Ilara's fleet spread quietly through the scattered human colonies and even reached a few alien settlements who had quietly resisted Dominion rule. Messages arrived, asking to meet, to speak, to join. Many were skeptical. Why would humans, who had been hidden for so long, suddenly take the lead? Ilara understood their doubts. Humanity had a reputation of being fragile and divided, but she also knew what humans were capable of when inspired. A council was formed aboard the starship. Representatives of human colonies, alien communities, and sympathetic engineers from neutral systems gathered around the holographic table. The meeting room buzzed with tension. Some of the alien representatives whispered among themselves, eyeing the humans with thinly veiled suspicion. "You are bold, Princess," said one alien, his voice smooth but skeptical. "But boldness alone will not defeat the Dominion. You lack resources, fleets, and experience." "How do you plan to lead such a campaign?" Ilara looked at him steadily, unafraid. "Experience is learned in action. Resources can be created when we work together. And courage is not a gift, it is a choice. We may be few now, but we are clever, adaptable, and determined." "That is our strength," the council murmured among themselves. One of the human colony leaders, a woman named Selena, spoke up. "I have watched humans survive against impossible odds. I have seen what we can do when we refuse to give up. I believe in her." Slowly, others began to nod. The aliens, initially wary, realized that human creativity and resilience were indeed extraordinary. Ilara smiled faintly. Leadership was never about asserting power. It was about inspiring belief. And now, for the first time in generations, humans were not just survivors, they were leaders. The next mission was delicate. Intelligence reports indicated that a Dominion-controlled supply station near the neutral system of Dravon could be converted into a base for resistance forces. The station was heavily guarded, surrounded by fleets larger than anything the humans and their allies could muster. A direct assault would be suicidal. Ilara studied the maps late into the night, her mind turning every possibility over and over. She traced the patrol routes, analyzed weak points in the station's shield, and considered every tool and trick at her disposal. Then, with a sudden clarity, she spoke to her team. "We will not fight them head-on. We will use strategy, not brute force. We will use what they expect least, human cunning." The plan was bold. The engineers rigged small drones to emit false signals, simulating attacks from multiple directions. The fleet would appear in a scattered formation, confusing Dominion sensors. And Ilara herself would lead a small strike team to infiltrate the station and disable its energy core, making it defenseless for the larger group to enter. The night of the mission, the tension aboard the ship was almost tangible. Every hand was steady, every breath measured. Ilara stood in the cockpit, staring at the Dominion station glowing in the distance. "Remember," she said, her voice calm but firm, "we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for every colony, every human, every being who dares to dream of freedom." We do this not with hate, but with courage and intelligence. We can succeed because we are human. As the fleet executed the plan, Dominion sensors were fooled. Their patrols were misled. Beams fired into empty space while Alara's team maneuvered through hidden corridors of the station. Using small, portable energy tools, they disabled the shields, bypassed security systems, and carefully avoided unnecessary destruction. Every action was precise, calculated, and efficient. Inside the station, Alara paused to observe her surroundings. Technology that had once been alien and threatening now seemed vulnerable, predictable. She marveled at the cleverness of her people, how they could take limited resources and find solutions no one else imagined. It was not brute strength that won wars, she thought. It was thought, collaboration, and adaptability. At the critical moment, the station's core was disabled. The Dominion fleet outside struggled to understand what had happened. Their defenses faltered, giving the rest of Alara's forces the opportunity to enter and secure the station. There was no unnecessary violence, no chaos beyond the tactical necessity. It was a triumph of strategy and intellect. Once the station was under their control, Alara addressed the coalition through the communication network. Today we have shown what humans, and all those who believe in freedom, can do when we work together. The Dominion may have numbers, but we have something far stronger, the power of ingenuity, courage, and hope. This is only the beginning. The Allies cheered, their voices echoing across the network. Among the human crew, there was laughter, relief, and the quiet joy of achievement. Children from liberated colonies watched the communications feed, wide-eyed, dreaming for the first time in their lives that the future might be bright. In the quiet aftermath, as the station's lights illuminated the control room, Jaren spoke to Alara. "I never imagined humans could do something like this. Not only did we survive, but we triumphed without, unnecessary harm." Alara smiled. "Victory is not about destruction, it is about creating possibilities. Every time we think, adapt, and act with care, we are stronger than those who rely on fear." Days turned into weeks, and the liberated station became a hub for the resistance. Humans and their allies coordinated efforts, trained new recruits, and repaired old ships. Every successful mission reinforced the coalition's belief in themselves, in humanity, and in the leadership of a princess who refused to accept the impossible as inevitable. Yet, the Dominion was not blind. Reports of Alara's victories reached their central command, where the Supreme Chancellor frowned at the flickering holographic displays. He underestimated humans, believing them weak and inconsequential. Now he realized that was a mistake. Alara's name was spreading, her reputation growing with every clever maneuver and peaceful triumph. The Chancellor would not forget this defiance. Meanwhile, aboard the starship, Alara took a quiet moment to herself. She floated near the viewport, watching the galaxy stretch endlessly before her. Each star was a reminder of the lives she hoped to save, each distant planet a symbol of the vastness of the task ahead. She allowed herself a small smile. Humans had always been underestimated, dismissed as fragile or unremarkable. But now, she thought, we were proving that courage, intelligence, and hope could be far more powerful than fear or oppression. The princess knew the challenges ahead would only grow greater. The Dominion would respond, their fleets would strike, and alliances would be tested. But she also knew something more important. Humans, when united and led by purpose, were capable of things no one imagined. That belief was more powerful than any weapon, more enduring than any fleet, and more inspiring than any history book could ever convey. And so, as the starship prepared to leave the Lysira system, carrying with it a coalition of humans and allies ready to reclaim freedom, Princess Alara felt a quiet certainty settle in her heart. The journey was far from over, but the spark had been lit. The galaxy was beginning to see the truth. Humans were not weak. Humans could lead. And history, if guided by courage and wisdom, could take a turn that no one, not even the Dominion, would see coming. The newly captured Dominion station glowed softly against the blackness of space, a beacon of hope and determination. Princess Alara stood on the observation deck, her hands lightly gripping the railing as her eyes swept across the stars. She could feel the pulse of life aboard the station, the engineers working tirelessly, the human recruits training for the first time in their lives, and the coalition of alien allies adjusting to their new roles. Everything was in motion, but the final challenge lay ahead, the Dominion's central command, the heart of their power. Ilara had studied it carefully. It was not just a fortress, it was a symbol of absolute control. Fleet after fleet answered to it, every colony's subjugation traced back to its influence. To attack directly would be suicidal, yet doing nothing would leave the galaxy in chains forever. She traced her finger over the holographic map, circling routes, supply lines, and weak points. "We will not face them with weapons alone," she told Commander Rin, who stood beside her. "We will use everything the Dominion does not expect. We will outthink them." Rin nodded, though concern clouded his expression. "Even with our new allies and this station, we are still vastly outnumbered. Are you certain this can work?" Ilara's lips curved in a small, confident smile. "We have already proven that size and power do not decide outcomes. Our advantage lies in our minds, our creativity, and our ability to adapt. The Dominion relies on predictability. We will show them what unpredictability means." The next few days were a flurry of preparation. Engineers retrofitted the captured station, turning it into a mobile command hub. Drones were programmed to simulate attacks on Dominion patrols, creating false threats and drawing attention away from the real fleet. Humans taught allies improvisation techniques, demonstrating how limited tools could achieve surprising results. Every plan was tested, every scenario played out in simulations. Princess Ilara personally oversaw the training of a small strike team. Humans and aliens worked side by side, learning from one another. Ilara encouraged curiosity, emphasizing creativity over brute force. One day, while practicing a maneuver through simulated corridors, a young recruit asked her, "Princess, how do you know we can succeed?" Ilara paused, considering her words carefully. "Because success is not about certainty. It is about willingness to act, to try, and to think differently when no one else will. The Dominion expects their enemies to follow rules. We make our own rules." The recruit nodded, determination shining in his eyes. Ilara felt a surge of pride. Leadership, she realized, was not about orders alone. It was about inspiring courage and showing the path forward. Finally, the day arrived to set the plan into motion. The Coalition fleet moved silently through the outer rim of Dominion-controlled space, each ship positioned with precision. The Dominion's central command lay ahead, massive and imposing, its defenses formidable. Scouts reported that enemy fleets were in constant patrol, but the Coalition had prepared for that. Ilara sat in the cockpit of her lead ship, hands steady, eyes fixed on the command station. Around her, the fleet moved like a single organism, each ship synchronized to the others, responding to subtle signals and pre-planned contingencies. "Princess," Rin's voice came through the comm, "they've detected our approach. Dominion patrols are converging." Ilara's expression remained calm. "Good, let them come. We will not fight them head-on. Follow the plan." As predicted, the Dominion fleet adjusted their formation, expecting a direct assault. Meanwhile, Ilara's smaller strike units slipped past patrols, using asteroid belts and hidden warp paths to approach the command station from unexpected angles. Drones deployed in advance created false signals, drawing fire and confusing sensors. Dominion commanders scrambled to react, but the more they tried, the more disoriented they became. Inside the command station, Princess Ilara's infiltration team moved with precision. Each corridor and control hub had been studied, every system mapped and understood. Using tools crafted by human engineers, they bypassed security locks, rerouted power grids, and disabled surveillance systems. Ilara felt a thrill, not of danger, but of intellectual mastery. Every challenge presented an opportunity to think, to adapt, and to solve problems creatively. At one critical point, a series of energy barriers blocked the team's path to the station's main control room. The Dominion had designed them to be nearly impossible to bypass, but humans were nothing if not inventive. Using a combination of portable energy modulators and reflective field panels, Ilara's team created a temporary path through the barriers, careful to avoid any unnecessary damage. Step by step, corridor by corridor, they advanced, proving that intelligence and ingenuity could outmatch raw strength. Meanwhile, outside, the Coalition fleet continued its distraction maneuvers. Human ships, smaller and more agile, darted between larger Dominion vessels, simulating attacks and drawing their attention away from the true mission. Alien allies watched in awe as humans adapted, improvised, and led the way with a confidence that inspired every member of the fleet. When Alara's team reached the main control room, she took a deep breath. Before them lay the central power core, a massive structure pulsing with energy that controlled the entire Dominion network. One misstep could trigger a catastrophic failure, yet she remained calm. Carefully, she instructed her team on the process to neutralize the core temporarily without causing harm to the station itself. "This is the moment where human ingenuity meets necessity," she said quietly. "Every choice we make matters, every calculation counts. We are not here to destroy, we are here to reclaim what was stolen." The team worked with precision, coordinating their efforts with the fleet outside. Signals flowed back and forth, adjustments were made in real time, and slowly the power core began to stabilize in a neutral state. Dominion alarms blared, but they were unable to locate the source of the interference. Confusion spread, giving the coalition fleet the opportunity to move in closer and secure critical positions. Once the core was stabilized, the station's automated systems were brought under coalition control. Screens flickered, lights shifted, and a quiet hum of energy replaced the ominous pulses of Dominion authority. The station, once a symbol of fear and oppression, was now a hub of cooperation and hope. Princess Alara took a moment to stand and observe her work. Around her, humans and alien allies shared glances of relief and satisfaction. They had achieved something remarkable, not through destruction, not through overwhelming power, but through strategy, intelligence, and unity. Every action had been deliberate, every choice thoughtful, and the result was proof of what humans could accomplish. After the immediate operation was complete, Alara addressed the coalition through the station's communication network. Her voice was calm, yet carried the weight of inspiration. "Today, we have proven that size, power, and fear are not the only measures of strength. Humanity and our allies have shown that courage, intelligence, and cooperation can achieve what seemed impossible. The Dominion will learn that leadership is not about domination, but about thinking, adapting, and believing in what is right." The reaction was immediate. Cheers echoed across distant colonies, laughter and relief mingling with renewed determination. Children watching the feed dreamed of possibilities, adults rediscovered hope, and even skeptical allies began to trust in the vision that Alara had laid before them. In the quiet moments that followed, Princess Alara allowed herself a brief reflection. The galaxy was vast and challenges still lay ahead. Dominion retaliation was inevitable. Yet she felt a growing certainty within her. The galaxy was beginning to understand something profound. Humans were not weak. Humans were not insignificant. Through intelligence, creativity, and courage, they could lead, inspire, and change history. Commander Rin joined her at the observation deck, his expression a mix of admiration and concern. "You were brilliant," he said quietly. "I have never seen a human or anyone plan with such precision and foresight, but the Dominion will respond. We need to be ready." Alara nodded, her gaze unwavering. "I know, and we will be ready. But today we celebrate, not because the war is over, but because we have proven what is possible, and that proof will guide every next step we take." In the days that followed, the coalition used the captured station as a training ground, a coordination hub, and a symbol of what could be achieved through ingenuity. New recruits arrived, both human and alien, inspired by stories of the clever strategies and precise execution that had turned the tide. Princess Alara spent time with each group, sharing lessons, encouraging questions, and fostering the belief that every mind mattered, every idea counted. As she looked across the station one evening, watching humans and aliens work side by side, she thought of the centuries of oppression and fear that had preceded this moment. And yet, she also thought of the power of hope, of courage, and of intelligence. The galaxy could be changed, she realized, not by the might of armies alone, but by the deliberate, thoughtful, and creative actions of those willing to believe in possibility. Alara returned to her cabin that night, exhausted but content. She opened her log and wrote, "We are human. We are clever, adaptable, and courageous. The Dominion believes we are insignificant, but they are mistaken. Every day, every decision, every act of creativity and cooperation proves that we can change history. The final assault approaches, and we are ready, not just with ships, but with minds that refuse to be outwitted. The galaxy will see the strength of humans, not in violence, but in intelligence and unity." As the station orbited a distant star, the Coalition prepared for the next phase. Dominion fleets would respond, colonies would be threatened, and the ultimate challenge lay ahead. Yet Princess Alara remained calm. Her crew, her allies, and the humans she had inspired were ready. The future was uncertain, but the path forward was clear. Thought, courage, and creativity would guide them, and history, she knew, was beginning to take a turn. And so, under the endless expanse of stars, Princess Alara and her coalition readied themselves for the greatest challenge of all. They had proven what humans could do when they acted with purpose, intelligence, and unity. The final assault was coming, and the galaxy would soon witness the full measure of human ingenuity. The galaxy held its breath. For centuries, the Dominion had ruled with an iron grip, but now the coalition led by Princess Alara stood poised for the final assault. The captured station orbited a distant star, a beacon of human ingenuity and courage. Its lights reflected across the blackness of space, signaling to all who looked that change was coming. Every human colony that had survived, every allied species that had dared to resist, and every mind inspired by hope waited for what was about to unfold. Alara walked along the observation deck, her footsteps quiet against the smooth metal floor. Around her, crews moved with purpose, performing final checks on ships, drones, and communication networks. She could feel the energy, the nervous anticipation that filled the station. Yet she remained calm. She had prepared for this moment for months, studying every patrol route, analyzing every weakness, and training every member of the coalition. This was not a fight of sheer force. It was a demonstration of intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Commander Rin approached, his expression a mixture of admiration and caution. "Princess, the Dominion fleet has been spotted moving toward us. Their numbers are greater than we predicted." Alara nodded, her gaze steady. "Let them come. They expect us to panic, to react without plan. They will see instead what humans can do when they think, adapt, and work together. We are not here to destroy blindly. We are here to reclaim freedom and show what is possible when minds lead." The fleet outside the station was a careful mixture of human ships and alien allies. Every vessel had a purpose, every maneuver pre-planned. Yet flexibility remained at the core of the strategy. Humans had shown that their greatest strength lay in creativity, problem-solving, and the ability to improvise under pressure. The Dominion's patrols moved in rigid formations, confident in their numbers. They did not anticipate unpredictability. As the first wave of Dominion ships approached, Princess Alara activated the station's defensive systems, not to fire aggressively, but to confuse and disorient. Drones created false signals, mimicking attacks from multiple directions. Lights blinked across the void, sensors scrambled, and Dominion commanders struggled to understand the source of the interference. Inside the station, Alara oversaw the coordination of strike teams. Each team had a specific task, some to bypass defensive networks, others to disable energy relays, and a small group led by her to approach the central command hub. Every action required precision, careful calculation, and trust in one another. The humans' ability to think differently gave them a distinct edge. One of the alien allies, a commander named Terrell, hesitated before a particularly narrow passage through the Dominion's defenses. "Princess," he said, concern in his voice, "this path seems impossible." "We risk being trapped." Alara looked at him with steady eyes. "Impossible is a word for those who do not try. Follow my lead, trust in your abilities, and remember why we do this. We are not defined by fear, but by courage and creativity. You can do this." With that, Terrell nodded, and the group advanced. Every obstacle was met not with brute force, but with clever solutions. Energy fields were bypassed with reflective modulators, locked doors were rerouted with portable control units, and patrols were avoided through precise timing and movement. Each challenge reinforced a simple truth: thinking mattered more than strength. Outside, the Coalition fleet continued its delicate dance. Smaller human ships darted between larger Dominion vessels, simulating attacks, drawing attention, and creating openings. Alien allies coordinated with them, their ships moving unpredictably in ways the Dominion had not calculated. The skies were filled with movement, strategy, and intelligence, rather than blind aggression. When Alara's strike team reached the central command hub, she paused to take in the room. Massive consoles and glowing screens lined the walls, displaying the Dominion's entire network of control. The Supreme Chancellor's presence was felt even here, through the weight of authority and technology. Yet, Alara's determination was stronger than fear. She activated the devices designed to neutralize the hub temporarily, a precise operation that would not destroy the station but would render the Dominion fleet's command ineffective. "Every move counts," she whispered to her team. "Every calculation matters. Focus, work together, and remember that our strength is our mind." Step by step, the system was brought under coalition control. Alarms blared and lights flashed, but the Dominion could not trace the disruption. Confusion spread among their fleets, and their disciplined formation began to falter. The coalition seized the opportunity, moving through open corridors and taking control of strategic points. Princess Alara allowed herself a moment to breathe. Her heart raced, not from fear, but from the exhilaration of seeing her plan succeed. Humans and allies worked in perfect coordination, proving that intelligence, preparation, and unity could achieve what raw power alone could not. As the final adjustments were made, Alara accessed the communication network. Her voice resonated across the galaxy. "People of all worlds, today we have demonstrated what can happen when courage, intelligence, and unity guide our actions. The Dominion has relied on fear and control for centuries. Today, they will see that minds united can overcome even the greatest obstacles. We are not here to destroy. We are here to reclaim freedom and inspire hope." Messages of encouragement and relief poured in from liberated colonies. Humans who had lived in fear for generations now dreamed of a brighter future. Children who had never known hope smiled at the broadcasts. Even skeptical alien allies felt the weight of possibility settle in their hearts. The Supreme Chancellor, observing from his distant command center, realized too late that he had underestimated humanity. His ships, once confident in their superiority, now struggled to respond to the unconventional tactics employed by the coalition. Every attempt to regain control was met with ingenuity, adaptability, and strategic brilliance. Inside the central hub, Alara guided the final procedures to stabilize the Dominion network in coalition hands. It was delicate work, requiring exact timing and coordination. Each member of her team played a crucial role, their actions reflecting trust, preparation, and the combined intelligence of human and allied minds. When the last energy relay was secured, a quiet calm settled over the station. Lights flickered as systems reoriented under coalition control. The Dominion fleet faltered, their command disrupted, and their formation in disarray. Victory had been achieved, not through overwhelming destruction, but through careful planning, innovation, and the determination to act wisely. Princess Alara stepped back and allowed herself a smile. Around her, humans and allies exchanged glances of relief, pride, and triumph. They had accomplished the impossible. The Dominion's central command, the symbol of centuries of oppression, was now in the hands of those who believed in possibility, intelligence, and cooperation. Rin joined her on the observation deck, his expression a mix of pride and relief. "You've done it," he said quietly. "I have never seen anything like this. Humans, led by you, have turned the tide without relying on destruction." Alara nodded, looking at the stars beyond the station. "We have done more than win a battle. We have shown that courage, creativity, and intelligence can shape the future. The galaxy will see humans not as weak, but as leaders who inspire and guide. This is the moment history begins to change." In the days that followed, the coalition established a council to oversee liberated systems and guide further operations. Humans were recognized not only for their ingenuity, but for their ethical approach, their ability to inspire trust, and their creativity in solving complex problems. Alara encouraged every member of the coalition to contribute ideas, reinforcing the principle that leadership is not about dominance, but about collaboration and insight. Messages of gratitude arrived from across the galaxy. Planets long thought lost began to rebuild, inspired by the example of a human-led coalition that had achieved what many considered impossible. Colonies shared knowledge, technology, and strategies, learning from one another and strengthening their bonds. Even the children who had watched the final assault unfold were changed. They no longer believed in helplessness. They dreamed of solutions, inventions, and clever strategies that could overcome obstacles. The story of Princess Alara and her human-led coalition became a beacon of hope, a tale of courage, ingenuity, and ethical leadership. Ilara, walking once again on the observation deck of the station, allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. The galaxy was vast and the challenges ahead would continue. But she knew that the proof had been made. Humans were capable of extraordinary achievement. They could lead not by fear, not by sheer power, but by intelligence, creativity, and unity. Writing in her log that evening, she recorded, "We have acted with courage, thought, and heart. The Dominion underestimated us, believing that fear and control were enough. Today, we have proven that creativity, collaboration, and determination matter more. We are human and we have changed history. The future is open, and we will guide it with intelligence, courage, and hope." The galaxy would never be the same. Systems previously oppressed began to recover. Humans were no longer seen as weak or insignificant. They had shown the power of intelligence, adaptability, and ethical leadership. Princess Ilara, once a quiet observer of the stars, had become the leader who inspired an entire galaxy to believe in possibility. And as the sun of a distant system rose over the horizon, reflecting against the station's metallic surface, Ilara allowed herself a small smile. Humans had led the final assault, history had taken a turn, and the galaxy was beginning a new chapter, one guided by courage, intellect, and unity. The journey was not over. Challenges would continue, conflicts would arise, and the Dominion's remnants might resist. Yet the proof had been made. Humanity had risen. Creativity, intelligence, and courage had triumphed. And with Princess Ilara leading the way, the galaxy would never forget the day when history changed, not through destruction, but through the strength of human spirit and mind. Ilara looked at the stars, feeling the promise of the future in her chest. The coalition around her, the humans and allies who had trusted her leadership, were ready to build, explore, and guide the galaxy into a new era. And in that moment, she knew that even the vastness of space could not contain the possibilities that humanity, and those who believed in freedom, could achieve. The human princess led the final assault, and history took a turn.